All right, hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in once again to the Black Box Podcast, BBOR, Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia. It's been a while on this channel since we've done the segment Genius or Fraud, where we talk about, kind of like a famous person or a set of ideas, and then we try to say, like, is this like really something brilliant, or is there something else going on? Today we're just going to be talking about a set of ideas as opposed to a particular individual, and that would be the Libertarian Party, the libertarian movements that we have going on mostly in the United States of America, of course, my country, because that's the thing that I guess we would say that libertarians are most associated with. But from what I hear, that there are going to be some libertarian movements that are going to be growing up somewhat internationally. I mean, that's kind of the first thing we need to say about this particular party. No matter what anyone has to say about the libertarians, they are growing in numbers. And they're also growing in a variety of opinions, and new things have been incorporated into it, but they are growing in numbers first and foremost. As far as I recall, Gary Johnson shattered the record for libertarians in the presidential election last time with the popular vote. He didn't get 5% of the popular vote, which is what they needed, but I think he got something like 3 point something percent, and there was like 4.4 million votes, but like, just over 3%, which was, I guess, a record for the libertarians. The short story is they are growing in numbers. But why would I do a segment called Genius or Fraud for the Libertarians, for the Libertarian Party? Why? Well, there are an enormous amount of people out there who are just horribly opposed to libertarians. They view them as people who have been deceived by mega business entities that, and this has all been going on since 1971. And by mega business entities, you can't have this discussion too far without mentioning the Koch brothers. The Libertarian Party was founded in 1971, but in 1980, David Koch of, Charles Koch and David Koch ran on the vice presidential ticket, and his platform on the Libertarian Party, like his running mate and him, had this platform all about privatizing everything. Privatize the rivers and privatize all the natural resources, in short, cutting out the public sector and give it all to sort of private sector entities. Well, it's like there's a huge dichotomy on in the world, in the way that people think. Some people believe the strong public sector is what moves a civilization forward. Other people believe it is the work of the strong private sector, the powerful businesses, like the money in the hands of people making decisions. In short, the free market, for lack of a better term, is what moves a civilization forward. What really is the answer? Well, it's been a battle for the it's a tale as old as time. It's like it's just been a battle that people are going back and forth, and there are opinions on both sides, and there are arguments on both sides. But why are the libertarians referred to as frauds by some people? Well, they believe that they have been deceived by big business. In short, that the Libertarian Party was founded in 1971 as a way for big businesses not to pay their taxes. It was associated with union busting. In short, like, they don't, if people are going to be libertarian, they aren't going to be unionizing and going to the government. No, they're going to demand less from the government, and then they're just going to be overrun by more powerful entities. Because the hypothesis, I mean, maybe you would even call it a theory if it's widely accepted, with the public sector is that if you allow businesses to get very large, then they will move the political system to their advantage. If the private sector is too powerful, if businesses are too powerful, if mega banks are too powerful, they will move the government any direction they want. But the way that they have to get more power is by telling people not to demand what is theirs in the public sector, not to demand their rights, such as things like we mentioned unionization, and many libertarians are for abolishing the minimum wage. Even Dr. Ron Paul and someone of the classic liberal tradition, such as Milton Friedman, also talked about this, and we did an upload recently on him. They're for abolishing the minimum wage, against the unions, as well as, just like trying to have things solved through just the kind of the markets taking their course. Well, what the people who are critical of the libertarians would say is just that that means that people are going to be getting ripped off. They are going to be just kind of be exploited by these massive financial entities. Is that really true? I would say that there's a grain of truth in this. But the problem is, the Libertarian Party did not stay the same. When you look at a lot of these new political parties that are kind of growing, like the Humanity Party, the Humane Party, the Tax Wall Street Party, maybe even the Rent is Too Damn High Party, if that's one's kind of defunct now, they are so small that they have such a simple platform. They have a very, very simple platform, and maybe the Libertarians started that way, but they have expanded into something so much larger. For example, not all Democrats think the same, not all Republicans think the same. You can be a conservative or a liberal on any side of the Republican and Democratic Party. Like in the Republicans, we have, a variety of opinions across the board, whether it's people like Jeff Flake or Susan Collins, compared to somebody like Steve King from Iowa, or perhaps even people like Lindsey Graham from down south. So the Republicans, it's just a party name at this point. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have any sort of criteria to be a Republican. It's pretty much checking a box on a form, the same way it is as a Democrat. I mean, people like Joe Manchin don't think the same way as someone like Kamala Harris or Kirsten Gillibrand. Once again, they've evolved into things that are larger, other than just a set of 5 or 6 bullet points. And a lot of these new up and coming political parties are still very small. But the libertarians are growing, and they've expanded to the point where people can have different belief systems, people can have different opinions, and they have this new umbrella of just a variety of libertarian standpoints. The anarcho capitalists, the minarchists, the constitutionalists, the classic liberals, if they choose to identify as libertarians, and one of the groups that is not talked about too much, the progressive libertarians, who are kind of in line with things like libertarian secessionism, as well as just well, once again, kind of the sort of be what you want to be libertarian, as well as once again the secessionists who believe that they want to, no human should have dominion status over another human, therefore you have the right to secede from any country, not be controlled by a government, not acknowledge the state, and so on. The fact of the matter is, there might actually be some truth to these theories that have been put forward, that the Libertarian Party was started as something, back in 1971, as a way to deal with union busting, or as a way for big business to dominate the common individual. And, like, I have some sort of kind of gut feeling that pulls me that way. However, though, what a lot of the critics of the Libertarian Party, people such as Sam Cedar in the Majority Report, the Tax Wall Street Party, the Lyndon LaRouche movement, as well as many other just progressives, and even some of the CNN commentators like to trash talk the Libertarian Party. Well, the thing is, they don't really grasp the fact that this has expanded into something that is not just a bunch of bullet points anymore. It is a group of people that are growing in all different directions. And as time goes on, even through the 2020 general election, we are going to have more and more libertarian viewpoints, and you're going to be exposed to more people, more libertarian thinkers. I've done 2 uploads on this channel about Darrell W. Perry, who will not be running for president in 2020. He ran in 2016, but you're going to be seeing new people on the rise. I mean, like, you might even see someone like Representative Joe Walsh running on the Libertarian ticket, and we did one upload on him, but also people like Kevin McCormick might come back into the picture. Austin Peterson might rejoin the Libertarian Party. I believe he last ran in the state of Missouri in 2018 as a Republican, but he was a Libertarian candidate in 2016, and he'll probably come back into the picture. The fact of the matter is, you're going to be hearing more about anarcho-capitalists. You're going to be hearing more about strict constitutionalists, and also things such as, Ron Paul and his show, The Liberty Report, Daniel McAdams, Chris Rossini, Jeff Deist, the guy who runs the Mises Institute. Those guys are going to be becoming more influential because they're gaining following. They're gaining followers, on the internet. And that's kind of just where the libertarians are going. They're expanding into a variety of things. And even if all of the allegations about the Libertarian Party are true, that this was just started as a way for big business to dominate the common working man, even if all of that is true, and I'm not saying it's all true, but even if it is, that's not happening anymore. That's just not happening. I mean, it's like it's expanded into something that big business can't control. I mean, the libertarian secessionists, they can't be dominated by big business. They wouldn't benefit them at all. They want to be detached from the rest of the nation state. They don't they don't serve the mega banks. In fact, they would hurt the mega banks because they would show that people don't need things like mega banks to live. In fact, these people are completely contrary to the agenda of big business. And the same could be said for a lot of the other libertarians, such as perhaps the anarcho capitalists or something like that, in certain settings. A lot of libertarians are talking about replacing the government with a series of competing agencies. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm somewhat skeptical if that would work. And I believe even Stefan Molyneux has a bunch of videos from that in the past. I've seen one or two of them, and I was not very impressed. But as somebody once put it, like, if you're going to replace the state, the government, and all of the things in it with just a series of competing agencies that are going to be kind of the linking force in a group of communities, that just turns into someone pollutes the water and you give them a 1-star review on Yelp. I forget who said that first, but okay, so you give somebody a bad review online for polluting the water. Is that actually going to fix anything? And it's like, I'm somewhat skeptical of replacing government with a series of competing agencies. Mentioning libertarian secessionism, like you take a fence and you put it around your property and you declare yourself sovereign, well, that's actually something that sounds somewhat feasible. I don't think libertarians are too far out, not to mention progressive libertarians who simply just want to kind of respect and honor the channels of freedom so people can do what they want with their own bodies, make their own decisions about their health, as well as kind of accepting people that they so choose, irregardless of kind of anything other than honoring freedom. So, once again, just to kind of recap, the Libertarian Party does have a long history that can be associated with things such as big business. And if you were actually to implement some of the things that they're talking about, like from David Koch's 1980 platform, such as privatizing the rivers and privatizing other natural resources, and that if somebody creates something of nature, they have the right to control it, like, say, damming up the river and, keeping all the water for yourself, then those things definitely happened. The Libertarian Party has a big history with big business, but even if that's true, it has evolved into something that is quite different, and it's going off in many different directions. The progressives, the anarchists, the strict constitutionalists, people are viewing, the Libertarian Party in a lot of different ways, and at some point, it might actually be something where it's like going to be rivaling the Democratic or Republican parties. We don't necessarily know, but what I can say is in the United States of America, we have had so many political parties come into power, like that have risen up and taken over and replaced some of the other ones. Like, we don't have the Whig Party anymore in any substantial fashion, and we don't have the Federalists or the Free Soil Party, perhaps. But something like the Free Soil Party, if I recall, they won like numerous seats in Congress their first time in the first election. Their candidate, former President Martin Van Buren, didn't win anything, but they did win seats in the Congress. So the point is, new political parties can rise up, and maybe that's going to be something that would happen with the Libertarians, but maybe not. Only time will tell. The fact of the matter is, though, this is a party that is growing, and not only with people, not only with numbers, but also with ideas, philosophy, and people are changing people are having different ideas that are being incorporated into this party. I mean, even Roger Stone identified as a libertarian. He identified it as just a conservative libertarian. We have progressives and conservatives in the Libertarian Party. We have anarchists and classic liberals in the Libertarian Party. What's going to happen with the 2020 general election? Let's see. Only time will tell, and that's all for me now. If you have anything to say at all, please drop a comment below. And until next